After the end of World War II in 1945, much of Europe was left in ruins. Cities were destroyed, millions of people had died, and entire economies had collapsed. But from this devastation, two powerful nations emerged stronger than the rest of the world: the United States and the Soviet Union. Although they had been allies during the war, their relationship quickly turned into rivalry. The United States supported democracy and capitalism, where people could vote for their leaders and businesses were privately owned. On the other side, the Soviet Union believed in communism, a system where the government controlled the economy and political power was concentrated in a single party. This ideological conflict slowly created tension across the world. Instead of a direct military war, the two superpowers began competing in politics, technology, intelligence, and military power. This long period of tension became known as the Cold War. Europe quickly became the center of this conflict. After the war, Germany was divided into four zones controlled by the United States, Britain, France, and the Soviet Union. The capital city, Berlin, was also divided in the same way. Over time, tensions grew between the Western and Eastern sides. Western Europe began rebuilding with support from the United States through the Marshall Plan, which helped restore economies and prevent the spread of communism. Meanwhile, Eastern European countries, such as Poland, Hungary, and East Germany came under the influence of the Soviet Union and adopted communist governments. This division between East and West became known as the Iron Curtain, a political and ideological boundary that split Europe in two. One of the most powerful symbols of this division appeared in 1961, when the Berlin Wall was built. The wall physically separated East Berlin from West Berlin, dividing families and communities overnight. People living in the communist East were not allowed to freely travel to the western side. The wall stood as a constant reminder of the Cold War for nearly 3 decades. As tensions increased, both sides formed powerful military alliances. In 1949, the United States and its allies created the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, commonly known as NATO. Its purpose was collective defense, meaning that an attack on one member would be considered an attack on all. In response, the Soviet Union formed its own alliance in 1955 called the Warsaw Pact, which included many Eastern European communist countries. With these alliances, Europe became the front line of a potential global war. But the Cold War was not fought through traditional battles between these two superpowers. Instead, it was fought through threats, political pressure, espionage, and technological competition. One of the most frightening aspects of the Cold War was the nuclear arms race. Both the United States and the Soviet Union rapidly developed nuclear weapons, capable of destroying entire cities in seconds. By the 1960s, each side possessed thousands of nuclear bombs. The logic behind this terrifying buildup was something called mutually assured destruction. The idea was simple. If one country launched a nuclear attack, the other would retaliate with equal force, leading to total destruction for both sides. This fear actually prevented either side from launching a nuclear war. The world came dangerously close to nuclear conflict in 1960 during the Cuban Missile Crisis. The Soviet Union secretly placed nuclear missiles in Cuba, just 90 miles from the United States. When the United States discovered the missiles, tensions reached a breaking point. For 13 days, the world watched as the two superpowers prepared for possible nuclear war. Eventually, a secret agreement was reached. The Soviet Union would remove its missiles from Cuba, and the United States would remove its missiles from Turkey. The crisis ended peacefully, but it showed how close the world had come to disaster. Another important battleground of the Cold War was space. The competition between the superpowers extended beyond Earth. In what became known as the space race, in 1961, the Soviet Union shocked the world when Yuri Gagarin became the first human to travel into space. The United States quickly intensified its efforts to catch up. Just 8 years later, in 1969, the United States achieved a historic victory when Neil Armstrong stepped onto the moon. During the Apollo 11 moon landing, the event was watched by millions around the world and became one of the most iconic moments of the 20th century. Throughout the Cold War, both sides also fought indirect conflicts in other parts of the world. Instead of fighting each other directly, they supported opposing sides in regional wars, such as the Korean War and the Vietnam War. These conflicts were often called proxy wars because they allowed the superpowers to compete without directly attacking each other. By the 1980s, however, the Soviet Union was facing serious economic problems. Maintaining a massive military and competing with the United States had become extremely expensive. At the same time, many people in Eastern Europe began demanding political reforms and greater freedom. A Soviet leader named Mikhail Gorbachev introduced major reforms known as glasnost and perestroika. These policies aimed to open Soviet society and restructure the struggling economy. As these changes spread across Eastern Europe, communist governments began collapsing. In 1989, one of the most historic moments of the century occurred when the Berlin Wall was finally opened. Crowds gathered on both sides of the wall, celebrating and tearing it down piece by piece. The fall of the Berlin Wall symbolized the end of the division in Europe and the beginning of the end of the Cold War. Just 2 years later, in 1991, the Soviet Union officially dissolved into independent nations. With its collapse, the Cold War finally came to an end after nearly half a century of global tension. The Cold War shaped modern history in countless ways. It influenced politics, technology, military strategy, and international relations for decades. Even today, its legacy can still be seen in global alliances, nuclear policies, and geopolitical tensions. Although the Cold War never turned into a full-scale war between the superpowers, the constant threat of nuclear conflict reminded humanity how fragile peace can be. And in the end, the Cold War proved that sometimes the most dangerous wars are the ones that are never actually fought. If you enjoyed this documentary and want to learn more about fascinating moments in history, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more powerful historical stories and documentaries to audiences across Europe and around the world. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.